Good. Let's start. So, welcome everybody to today's guided onboarding session for SpecFlow. I'm Andreas. I'm the community manager of SpecFlow. Some info. So this is an hands-on session. So I showed to you the stuff and the ideas that you work along. Zoom has a Q&A tool for questions. Somewhere down there should be a button. Please use this for questions. It makes it easier for me to see what questions I already have answered. Please don't use the chat for questions. I will answer all your questions. So I will answer all of them. If it's relevant to the current task, we'll answer them at once. If not, I will answer them at the end. We have a dedicated Q&A section section after the whole step through. Good. Before we start, one quick poll for you, and some info for me is starting a poll. Please vote for it. Have you already been using SpecFlow? This is info from me that I know how much, what should explain more and what not. So, okay, a lot of new people here. Cool. So, I'm gonna share the results for us. So, yeah. 7 are new to SpecFlow, 2 already use SpecFlow. So let's get started. Where is my virtual machine? So I'm showing you this all on a virtual machine. It has only installed Visual Studio 2019 with nothing else. The first thing you do if you start with SpecFlow is just rearrange some windows here quickly. Is to install our Visual Studio extension. Our Visual Studio extensions has a lot of features that enables you to use to make it easier to work with SpecFlow. And to install it, we start now Visual Studio 2019. Let's continue without creating a project. And here an extension, managed extension. Then you search here for online. You can search for SpecFlow. And you have here then SpecFlow for Visual Studio. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Say download. After the download, Visual Studio asks you that it wants to be restarted to get installed. So let's do this quickly. Now this VSX installer opens, and when this is finished, we can continue. So it asks to modify. Let's say modify. And wait a moment. Yeah, virtual machines. So should be finished, and it's finished. So let's close this. Let's quickly check for the extension. So let's start Visual Studio. Let's also say continue without code. Let's have a look. Extension, manage extension, and here under installed, we see a new SpecFlow with Visual Studio installed. Cool. Extension is here. So, so how do we continue? So in this session, we want to then test an application. But to do this, we first need the application. Our case is this is a simple class library. a C# class library with some calculator implementation. And let's create first this project, the so-called project system under test. Yeah, we choose a class library, .NET Core. You can find this, you can here search for class library. Don't press enter because then it creates this project. Let's wait a little bit. You have here different fields and you have to search here for the correct class library. We want the class library .NET Core for C#. And we create this and name it SpecFlow Calculator. Cool. And create. So it's creating the project. It created .NET Core 3.1 project, still default. So to get now, we have only this class 1. What we take now is, let's take the, I have here the implementation. I quickly share this with you. I share this in the chat with all of you that you can copy and paste it. It's easier. So we have a simple calculator class. Let's rename also the file. It has two properties, first number, second number, and the method add, which is not yet implemented. And it doesn't save the state, but it returns the result. So I'll give you a quick moment to code this on yourself, copy paste it. I'll do in the meantime a build. And that worked. Cool. Good. Now we have our application we want to test. The next thing is now let's add the SpecFlow project. We go to the solution, say add new project. And one thing you got from the Visual Studio extension is our SpecFlow project template. You can search for SpecFlow here. I'm getting it here already displayed. So let's choose this. Then as usual, you need a project name. We call it, in this case, it's the SpecFlow calculator.specs. And then you get a wizard where it asks for which .NET framework you want to have it. So we have .NET Core 3.1, .NET 5, or .NET Framework 4.8, and which test framework you want to use. We support the SpecFlow Plus runner, our specialized runner, and we have XUnit, NUnit, and MS Test. We leave all this in this configuration. So .NET Core 3.1, we saw this is one, and we use today the SpecFlow Plus runner. So let's create this project. And so create here a project. We have some already dependencies, what is needed for the project. Let's build this also in the background. And then we have some folders automatically generated. And drivers and hooks we don't need today. Hooks is, SpecFlow has some hooks that you can do automation stuff on different life cycles. So if you start a scenario or end a scenario, drivers is a pattern. If you have large resolutions, then we have the feature files folder, features folder, where all our feature files is. So with the project, there comes automatically a feature file for the calculator. So a simple scenario. SpecFlow uses Gherkin That's the language that's used here. You have always, every feature file has a feature with a title, then you have some description, and then you have your separate scenarios. And have a given when then. And given when then is simply it's like for unit tests, there's the 3 A's, so arrange, act, and assert. Good. One question from Daniel. Are you going to do more than just same getting started that is on the website? Except the Q&A session, yes, I'm going through with you through the getting started. That's on our website, getting started step-by-step guide. That's what we are going through. But you have the option to ask questions to me, and I will try to answer them. And if you have problems with going through, perhaps you can also solve this quickly. Good. Back to the project. We have also, this is some virtual folder from MS Build stuff. And then we have the steps where then our steps folder with our steps classes, with our step definitions where the automation happens, but to that later. So as you saw, perhaps you saw it, I built it now in the Test Explorer. We have already here some new entries, and we see how here from our specs project, the calculator and the one scenario. And let's run this and see what's happening. What is happening? And nothing is happening. So what happened here? We are using the SpecFlow Plus Runner, and the SpecFlow Plus Runner, it is free, but you need to activate you need a SpecFlow account to use it. It's also free, and we need to sign up for this. So when you go to the output folder and show output from tests, you have these messages here, and what you do is you copy this URL. You sadly can't. You can now click on it with Control, and in the browser you get welcome with this message, welcome screen. So let's sign in with our Microsoft account. I already did this sometimes in the past, so I'm asked here for my user. Okay, now it wants password. So give me a moment. Where is my password manager? So sorry for that. My password manager is somehow. Good. In the meantime, there's a question as I get my password. What is the difference to select SpecFlow Plus Runner and MS Test? The SpecFlow Plus Runner is a specialized runner for SpecFlow. So it has some specialized features that makes it easier and more better to use with SpecFlow. So it has also built-in reporting. You have a retry functionality. You have better parallel execution features than in normal MS tests. You can make an isolate your memory between the threads. You have And so two-factor. And so we are supporting all of them. So all of them we are supporting MS test, NUnit, XUnit, and we have our own runner for SpecFlow. So what you like, we have some cool features that perhaps help you. I hope this answered the question for you. Detailed information for that can be found on our website. We have here SpecFlow org, products, the SpecFlow Plus runner, and you have here then the big features and then links to further documentation. Good, but back here. So what's happened here is now the PC is activated. We have activated the runner on this machine. If you have not yet a SpecFlow account, there's one step in between where you have to provide some small questions and the terms and condition and privacy policy check marks. But this is about 10 seconds more to fill out. So, and as it's here, we switch now back and execute it. So back to Visual Studio, press run. And now we should get an yellow result. And when we have look here and open additional output, see the output of the test, and then when SpecFlow wants to try to execute the different steps, and we see there's pending and skip because of error, so nothing gets executed. So the next step is that we automate the whole thing. So what do we need to do this? So first we need to add a reference to our system under test, that to the other project, that we can get access to the APIs. So, and now implementation of the steps. So Gherkin, you have this set the separate steps. This one has already a parameter, and we now need to have a binding for it. So that's SpecFlow, a method where then your automation code is. And you can get to this by simply right click here and go to definition. This is again a feature from the Visual Studio extension that you have this navigation. When you say go to definition, we get here to some already created code, and this is here in this calculator step definition class what was created by the project template. So it's not implemented yet. So to do this, let's remove all this code. Let's remove this and implement it. So what do we need to implement is, yeah, we need the calculator. So let's get an instance of this calculator class. So private calculator equals new calculator. So because this sample is so easy, we can simply instantiate here our calculator, a system under tester class. Let's jump to it, this one. For more complex application, you probably need more code to do this, but here it's fine. So, and what we're doing here now is simply we say calculator, there is an underscore missing, calculator dot first number equals number. So, and that's the first binding implemented. What we forgot to mention is the binding between the Gherkin file and the code. Let's put them to each other, get rid of this and make this small. The bindings, the connection between this here And this method is this attribute. So we have here given and this given, this has to match. And then you have here and this parameter a regular expression. And this is matched with this line. And so we know when this is executed, in reality, this method has to be called. Yeah, how does it work? And with this bracket dot star bracket close bracket, you say that's a parameter. That's normal regular expressions. So what happens if we now run the tests again? It's still yellow. Let's have a quick look in the output. Difference is now we see here our first step here is not done. Now it's the second step pending. Yeah, we didn't implement it yet. Good. Let's do this. So we're already here, second number. Let's remove this again and say calculator second number equals number. Cool. Then we have our when step. Let's implement this. So we know we have this calculator has an add method. But it doesn't save the state, but we get the result. So we need to save the result, get the result. Let's say var result equals. So, but how do we can access this here then in the then step where we do the assertion? Simply, we can save this as a field like we do with the calculator. Class, let's say result control dot. Now we generate variable, generate field. And Visual Studio created here our nice field. And now we can here write our assertion. To make it easier with underscore result, you can rename this to, this is our expected result. Name of the variable doesn't matter. It's only the order of parameters that matter. You can also have, there are more parameters, and so that this matches the method. Only the order is important. And now we can write result. So we want to make the assert. And for that, we in the SpecFlow team are big fans of the library Fluent Assertions, which is a cool library to write your assert statements. So we already have the dependency on it, these Fluent Assertions. Let's start using it. So we add a using statement here, using Fluent Assertions. And then we can write underscore result dot. And we get now this some extension methods here. So the should, this is the entry point for Fluent Assertions. Then we say B should be expected result and done. Yeah, it's a little bit easier to read than assert.equals and so. So everything is implemented. Let's see what's happening. Okay, we have a builder. No. Where did I miss a semicolon? I missed there a semicolon. So build was successful. Let's run now the tests. And it is red. Why is it red? Ah, yeah, system not implemented exception. Yeah, we didn't implement our calculator here. So we can simply jump here in the call stack to the add method here, and let's implement this. So turn first number plus second number, done, build, and let's run it again. And it's green. Cool. First green automated scenario. And you have a look at the output. Everything is done. Nice. Good. So, what about adding a second scenario? So we have the calculator that adds new stuff. So let's implement also a scenario that's subtract stuff. I have already prepared a scenario. So I add it here. And I posted also to the chat that you can copy and paste it. So and what happened here? So we have this scenario subtract two numbers. The first number is 120, second number is 70, it works fine. But then we have a when step that's violet, and then we have the result should be 50. So what is happening here? So that's also something from the Visual Studio extensions that you see here how what steps are already bound and what's not. And the two numbers are subtracted, it's not yet bound, so that's why it's violet. And this is the case where I show you now how to create new step definitions. There are multiple ways. You can say go to definition again, then you get a small window with the skeleton code for this method. Or you can say generate step definitions in the menu, and then you have here a window to generate the stuff. You can also copy to clipboards, and it does not follow the font sizes I have. Good. Alternative, if you don't use Visual Studio, let's build this. It's like you're using Visual Studio Code or you're on a Mac. Also, if you run the scenarios and have a look at the output, you see the skeleton code. I'll show you this quickly. So it's yellow. And when we go to the output, we see here that two numbers are subtracted, no matching step definition found for the step. And you can get here only the method or here a complete class with the bindings to use. So let's copy this here. No, we simply say go to definition of F12, say yes, we want this. Go to in our step definition class, paste it here. It's a when. Let's put this to the other when step. This is then subtract, and we need to create this method on the calculator class, jump to it with F12, and then we can say return first number minus second number, finished, build, and run. Cool. And we have our second scenario automated. Cool. So this is nice having this automated here and in Visual Studio all green, but these feature files are, if you're in a project, you check it into your source control system, and it's there, and they're not that accessible for everybody of your team. So if you have people that are not so familiar with source control system, it can be a problem for them to get to it and read these scenarios. And what we did is we created an application for that. It's called SpecFlow plus Living Doc, and makes a nice living documentation out of your scenario. And this is the next step. The last thing I wanted to show you today. So the SpecFlow plus Living Doc, there are two versions. One is the Living Doc Generator, which is a standalone tool, works locally on your, and everywhere else. And we have also SpecFlow plus Living Doc for Azure DevOps, which is tightly integrated with Azure DevOps. But both have near the same capabilities. So we are using the SpecFlow plus Living Doc generator. To do that, we need a command line because it's a .NET global tool, and we need to install this. Let's make this a little bit bigger that you can read it. And to install this, it's really easy. It's one command. It's .NET tool install, then -- global, that you install it global, and then SpecFlow plus Living Doc CLI. And press enter, take some time, and done. Okay, we have now this Living Doc command available. One thing, if this is your first global tool you install, you have to open a new command prompt that you can use this, because it changes your path variables, and this is only done refreshed if you start a new command prompt. But we can close this because we need a different command prompt. Let's go to the Specs project. So we say open folders here. And what we do is we need this folder. Let's open a command. Let's switch to this project. And what we can now do is execute this Living Doc command. And this has, let's see what this is. It has a lot of commands, and we want, so it's generated at the end at an HTML report. We want this, and we also want to see the test execution results. And for that, we have some file. When you run the scenarios, and you have a project that So what we have here in the project is we have here a dependency to SpecFlow plus Living Doc plugin, and this is also needed. So it's you have this command line tool, and you need this plugin in your project. Because of this plugin, you get the test results, and this plugin generates this test execution JSON file, and this is important in a moment because we need to use it. The first thing is, so let's say Living Doc, then we need test assembly, then we need the path to the test assembly. So this is bin. Okay, my VM did a shutdown. What is happening? Sorry for that. No idea what is happening. I didn't press the demo codes. What? Yes. Unspecified error. Hand session. Sign in. Okay. No idea what happened. Yeah, but the license is expired, but this shouldn't make a shutdown. Strange. Okay, let's continue where we were. Okay, let's open everything. SpecFlow calculator. Let's open also the folder here, source, repo, SpecFlow calculator. And what we can do is go directly to the output directory, bin debug.net core. Now, open my command prompt. Let's switch, so back here. So we say living doc test assembly. As we are in the output folder, the test assembly is simply available. So we say SpecFlow calculator.specs.dll. And then for the test results, we say -t test execution JSON. Let's add enter. And living doc HTML was successfully generated. And when we go, it's now in Explorer, we have here the living doc HTML. And let's get started. And this is living doc. So we have here our feature tree from what you also have in Visual Studio here, features on our scenarios here. And we see here also some the test execution results. We have some timing. We see, perhaps you notice it, we have here some markdown in the description. This is now rendered nicely here. We have some analytics where you see overview about the pass rate and everything. And you also see here unused step definitions, if there is unused step definitions that isn't executed at all. Yeah, that's living doc. You get one HTML file out of it, and you can share this however you want with your stakeholders, shareholders, team members. If it's Teams, static Windows shared, some FTP server, web server, what you want, you can simply share it with the rest of your team. Good. And we're at the end at the practical part. So after that, you have now a project where you have automated 2 scenarios. You know how you can generate living doc. The whole getting started guide with step-by-steps is online. We have also added videos to it. For every step you can see and watch. Yeah, and before we come to the Q&A section, I have a question for you. We would be interested in where you heard from us, from SpecFlow. So let's quickly start the poll. So if you could quickly answer this, simply helps us for the future. Cool. Okay. Good. So I share the result also with with you. So a lot of mouse-to-mouse marketing for us. Good. That was last question from me to you. And now it's time to ask me questions you have. So please add them to the Q&A tool, and I try to answer them. Okay. There's one question. How can I write a feature file in German? Because product owner didn't pay attention when they taught English at school. That's easy. I can quickly show you this. So where is my VM? Where is my VM? You can default is English, but you can configure that it's all German. So what you need is new item. So with add new item, SpecFlow, also from the Visual Studio extension. There is a template for the Json configuration. one thing important, you have to rename this to SpecFlow JSON, not the one that Visual Studio is adding. Let's share this. Let's add this. And in this JSON, you can configure the language and the binding culture of this. And you can simply say here DE, and here's also DE. Yeah, then you get this tool. You can ignore this, legacy reasons, and then you can, when you have a look, now this English doesn't work at all anymore because it doesn't recognize the keywords. But we have also an item template for here for German. German, let's add. German is Funktionalität. And then you have Szenario. 2 Zahlen addieren. Then you can use angenommen or gegeben sei and when and then as keywords and so. Yeah, we could make now mix-max from English and German. Let's don't do this. So this is for to switch the whole project to a different language. What you can also do is you can also switch separate single feature files to it. With that, you add at the first line, say language en, and with this directive, only the single feature file is switched to English or the language you want. And yeah, think about 18 languages is Gherkin supporting, so it's not only English, German, but a lot of them. Good. I hope that's answered the question. Second question: any advantage integrating with XUnit? Personally, I'm a big fan of XUnit, but all of the unit test frameworks are on the same level with integration in SpecFlow. We try to support the features as much as possible so that you can write output. This in XUnit is this output helper, test output helper, also have it there. It's what you want to use. It really depends on the user preference. We see users are using all 4 of them. So NUnit, MS-Test, XUnit, and our own runner. In SpecFlow, we support all of them. What you need to do is when you want to use or switch later to a different runner, is you need the configuration happens with special NuGet packages. So in our case, as we're using the SpecFlow Plus runner, we have here the specrun.specflow package. That's the package that you use. The SpecFlow Plus runner with SpecFlow. And if you want to say, let's switch to XUnit, you need to remove this package, and we have then a special one for SpecFlow XUnit to be used. All of this can be found in our documentation. SpecFlow, and then we have here on the left side somewhere unit test providers here, and here's the starting point to all the information you need for that. I share this link with you, and you see also here how to use the different information specialized to do. So how to access II test output helper as an example. Good. So next question. So do you advise to use XUnit for unit tests and SpecFlow runner for BDT? as said, you can for SpecFlow scenarios, yes, the SpecFlow Plus Runner has the best features and best stuff, has more features than XUnit, MS-Test, and NUnit there, so that's why it's also the default, and that's why developing this personal, but this is a project question and a personal question. What you like most, as always, it's probably depends on your customer, on your project, what you want to use. Perhaps there's a special feature you have to use that's only available for one of the test runners. So we try to be as much agnostic to them as possible. One recommendation I can give you, if you use different runners, make also different package projects. So have one if you use the SpecFlow Plus runner for your scenarios, have one scenario for your one project for your scenario, and if you use XUnit or NUnit or MS-Test for your unit tests, put them in a separate directory. Visual Studio Test is sometimes behaving strange and not so nice, and this then stops searching for the others. So it can be that does only find your scenarios, but not your unit tests, and the other way around. So keep it in separate projects as advice. Good. Next question is, Cucumber has world. Does SpecFlow have a similar concept? I'm not sure what Cucumber world is. Let's don't do Cucumber PDD world. What is world? Andreas, can you quickly give me a hint what world is in Cucumber world? Log documentation. The sharing state between steps and so. Yes, we have such thing. It's called scenario context. We can set global state. Okay. So we are SpecFlow is .NET and nothing special about this. So if you want to have something global that is complete for all scenarios, make it static, and that's what. If you need something to within your one scenario, you get state from one step to the next one. There are two ways. The first thing is, and I only mentioned this shortly, is not this one, is the scenario context. This is a class that gives you some information where you currently are in the scenario info stuff, and also has scenario context current. This is a string object dictionary bag that goes with you. You can put stuff into it and get accesses some in a different class. The thing what you should that's the first option, but the better option is to use context injection. SpecFlow is heavily using IOC and DI. So, and here we have a good example how you share state between one binding or another. Like we have this class person data, and you have two binding classes. And in both of them, you get them via constructor injection and can access it. And the SpecFlow runtime makes sure that this is the same instance. So you can in this given, you're setting the properties, And then the then is executed here. This is the same instance then in this instance here, and you can access this here. And this makes it possible to have a nice type safe way to sharing data between your binding classes. I hope this is it. Cool, good. That I answered that. So let's do this. Can we add requirements PBI bug as text to SpecFlow scenarios? Yes, there is. Yes. So what you can do is you can, together with SpecFlow plus Living Doc, that's a feature of SpecFlow Living Doc, you can say you want this scenario has something to do with PBI 735. And when you generate your Living Doc, so Living Doc test assembly, I'll show you the parameters. You have here two parameters, the work item URL template and the work item prefix. With the work item prefix, you give the prefix of your tag where you have the ID. So in our case would be PBI colon. And then you can give with work item URL template, you provide the URL, how to get you to your PBI. In that case, that's an Azure DevOps URL. And if you click on it, you jump to this work item directly. And how it's rendered. So let's quickly show you this URL template. So and let's use GitHub for that. So github.com SpecFlow OSS SpecFlow issues, and then let's say, I think this is correct ID. And we generate this. Yeah, that's PBI colon. And when we refresh now the one we have here, we need to run this again. Yeah, we have German things, yeah. Yeah, this doesn't like the German, so let's remove this. Let's remove also this and this back. No. This again. And good. So now it should be here. Now we see here the special tag and it says a link. And when we click on it, a new tab is open and goes to Initian, opens GitHub, and you can link this to what you want. I hope this answered that question. Good. Next question. Thanks so much for good presentation. Is it possible to share the current efforts the SpecFlow team is doing to be integrated 100% with .NET and that's 3.1? Any challenge about integration for .NET to use to share with us? We're supporting .NET 5. We released support for it 48 hours after it was released. I'm only using .NET Core 3.1 because it's the default. As you saw, the class library is still generating in .NET Core 3.1, and changing this manually is simply, it's one additional step that makes the whole step-by-step guide unnecessary, one step longer, complicated. So it's only a demo reason I'm using .NET Core 3.1. But we support .NET 5 since 48 hours afterwards. It's there, and you can always check. So it's in the documentation requirements, I think. Yes, so we're supporting .NET 5, .NET Core 2.1, .NET Core 3.1, and .NET Framework 4.6.1 and afterwards. We support that what Microsoft is supporting. That's the short version. So as long as these two are in LTS, we will support them. And if Microsoft changes something on .NET Framework side, we will adjust it. But generally, what Microsoft is supporting, we are supporting. But good point. I will add this to my slides for the next time, that there is no confusion and people are thinking that we only support .NET Core 3.1. Good. Yeah, okay, cool. Marcel, that it works for you. He tried it in .NET 5 and it worked for him. Good. That was the last question. Good. Good. So let's bring it to an end. We are nearly end of time. We have a YouTube channel and also a Twitch channel. So on YouTube, this webinar was recorded and we will probably upload it to YouTube in the next days. You can also see there old recordings from webinars and our other videos where I explain various things in SpecFlow. All the recordings of our Twitch TV stream are also there. Normally I stream every Thursday at 1 p.m. CET, not tomorrow because of timing issues, but next week again. And thanks for joining. One last question, so quick one. Books do you recommend? We have I quickly share this on our docs page. On the main page, we have here we are collecting here contents and we have here books. Here, what we recommend, so from Gajko Ajic, some books, Lisa Crispin, Matt Bryan, Asakais, the Cucumber book. What I think the latest of all of these is the one from Gaspar and Seb Rose about discovery. BDD has 3 phases: discovery, formulation, automation. This is the first book in a series. I reviewed the book, it's very cool. And yeah, that's the book. And I think, and Gaspar and Seb are also working on a second book. It's called Formulation. So the first I read that I can recommend. I did not read the second one as it's not yet finished. Sites to study, our documentation, and we are documentation is we try to put everything that needs to be known. What we also have is on support SpecFlow.org. We have a FAQ section, but we have also some community forums, general discussions. So if you have questions how to do something with SpecFlow, that's the right place for you. There are the people and also the team and trying to answer your questions. And if you have feature ideas or feature requests, we have also here this feature requests form where you can add your feature wishes and we will then think about it. And you can also vote on existing ones. So you see, and that helps us to prioritize stuff. Good. Good. Yeah, thanks for joining. I'm Andreas Billy Community Manager. I have my Twitter. We have my LinkedIn. I can also put my email address. I put quickly into the chat. But best thing, if you have question about SpecFlow, put it in the forum, in the community forum. I am monitoring it, so I will see it. So it will not be forgotten. Yeah, SpecFlow, our website. We are on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Please follow us there. We share all the stuff we're doing, not only release posts, but also a lot of articles about various BDD stuffs, from how you formulate your gherkins, how to automate this. So there you get informed. So, and yeah, we're already out of time. Thanks for joining, and I hope I see you in the community forum. Have fun with SpecFlow. Bye. And there is an end survey that you please answer. We have some end survey for you. Please answer that. That helps us also. But now, really, bye.